Desiderius Erasmus was born in 1466 AD and died in 1536 at the age of 69. Born in Rotterdam, Netherlands, he lived there only 4 years and never returned. When he was 9, his parents sent Desiderius and his brother Peter to monastic schools led by monks, where they received an exceptional education in the city of Deventer, Netherlands. While he developed a personal relationship with God, he had disdain with the harsh rules that the church educators required. His parents died of the plague when he was 17 years old. The year was 1483. This event was not a part of what we call today the Black Death, which occurred more than 100 years earlier. 4 years later, poverty forced Erasmus to live a life as a canon regular priest that shared their property with one another. At the age of 29, he moved to Paris to study at the Collège de Montaigu. There he became close friends with Publio Fausto Androlini, a humanist poet, humanists being people who study the ancient world's knowledge and focus on benefiting humanity. In 1499, Erasmus traveled to England, teaching at the University of Oxford. There he met and admired John Colet, a Renaissance humanist and educational pioneer. He wrote to Colet, "I cannot tell you, dear Colet, how I hurry on, with all sails set, to holy literature. How I dislike everything that keeps me back." By studying day and night for 3 years, he mastered Greek, which allowed him access to many texts including the Septuagint Bible, the ancient Greek translation from the original Hebrew. Between 1506 and 1509, he studied at the Turin University, located in northern Italy, and there he mastered Latin. Upon learning Latin, something had changed in him. Erasmus combined the Greek and Latin traditions of the Bible, which led him to be considered the greatest scholar of the Northern Renaissance. About this time, Martin Luther, perhaps the most important figure of the Protestant Reformation, heavily criticized the Catholic Church, of which Erasmus opposed. However, he believed and preferred to have civil dialogue rather than war and conquest, stating, "It is better to cure a sick man than to kill him." Some of his works laid the foundation for religious tolerance. In summary, although no one person is indispensable, Desiderius Erasmus has gone down in history as critical to humanist thought, and his works eventually brought about the Age of Enlightenment, an intellectual movement several centuries later.
Prick up your ears and I'll tell you how many benefits I bestow on both men and gods, how widely my sacred powers extend. Folly. This quote comes from the intro and is set her aim in delivering this speech. It is mainly to show how present she is on earth and among the famous. Her work dealing formally and systematically with a subject takes on a wide diversity of people from different backgrounds, such as fools and philosophers, men and women, theologians and doctors, Christians and pagans, kings and monks, gods and children. She identifies their depths to her charms. She does not seek to criticize or catalogue sin, but instead endeavors to showcase why she deserves recognition and praise. If no one will set up a monument to her, she will do it herself. In the introduction of The Praise of Folly, Folly is the narrator of the story, who stands before a crowd wearing a costume of a fool, and she plans to talk about her behavior, showing high moral standards and how she is so good and worthy. She wonders why no one has built a monument or wrote a speech about her. She wonders why no one has given her the praise that she deserves for being famous, and since she brings the universe such pleasure. Her intentions are to express clearly how she can bring joy to nearly all gods and men. The praise of folly is broke down into 3 sections. The first section is explained as folly explains that without her, marriage and childbirth would not exist. She makes old age easier, less severe, serious, or painful just by her presence. Her supporters are plump and happy, while wise men who labor and tire before their time. She feels that gods are completely in her debt. She believes that women are particularly foolish in their quest for beauty and love, but their beauty is what causes men to carry out and act ridiculous or unreasonable. Folly believes that any gathering needs a little folly to be interesting or fun. She says all relationships on earth need folly and flattery to continue peacefully. She explains that loving yourself is not bad because you must like yourself to accomplish great things. She believes that all great projects are owed to her because without folly, they would never be realized. And she says that all of the disasters that mortals face can only be endured with the help of folly. Section 2 in the praise of folly. In this section, Folly criticizes all different groups of people from various academic and social classes, such as lawyers and doctors, philosophers, gamblers, hunters, superstitious folk, authors of books and poets, businessmen, grammarians, men obsessed with their lineage and ancestry, artists and performers, and even nations and cities themselves. All of these men have the qualities of heightened levels of folly in their smugness, silliness, and irrelevance. Foley's tone seems harsher and shows disapproval as she moves through the classes. She has a special anger towards the doctors of theology because they act as if they do not indulge in folly because they are responsible for their outstanding bad acts of foolishness. They enjoy their arguments and twist the sculptures to fit their thesis and seek to inspire awe in their listeners but completely ignore the message from Christ. Monks are content with themselves, with a life of rules and good works, but forget about the gospel. Popes and cardinals and bishops live a life of luxury. Princes ignore what is best for their people and country and indulge in their whims. Section 3 in the praise of folly. In this section, Folly seems to go on a tangent about Christianity. She says that Paul and Christ spoke of meekness and humility, and then she goes on to say that Christ was in fact the biggest fool of them all, as he became sin in order to redeem the sinners. She explains that religion seems to be more like a bunch of foolishness than wisdom. She ends her rant, or her story, reminding her listeners to enjoy life as much as possible.